Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah mentions that when a person calls to misguidance, right, the point that I was making was that it is possible for a person to be ignorant. So when a person is ignorant, don't be harsh with him. Don't be harsh with them, be easy with them. Like your parents, your relatives, your neighbors, they don't know. As for a person who is grounded upon his bid'ah, stubborn, mu'anid, strict upon it, stubborn upon it, and he doesn't want to leave it and he calls to it, then this one is different to the jahil. The jahil, you can teach him, you can call him, invite him to your house, sit him down, invite his family. Wallahi, sometimes I even invite kuffar to my house. I invite kuffar to my house that I've met. And I say, come to the house and have some tea, have some biscuits, we'll make a meal for you. Even a kafira once, we were doing with her, she's a producer in one of the radios, and she started asking us questions in the maktaba regarding Salafiyah and the Salafi way and the Salafi path and the difference between it and the Khawarij and the insurgents and the Takfiris. So through that contact, she used to ask a lot of questions. The belief of the Muslims with regard to the hijab. The belief of the Muslims with regard to the Sayyid Qutb and Ibn Taymiyyah. Why? Because after this 9/11, that the kuffar, the non-Muslims, they became interested in these affairs. And I recognized her eagerness. So it was the month of Ramadan. She said, we want to come up and we want to ask you questions. So I said, well, it's the month of Ramadan. Why don't you just come in the evening and you can break iftar and you can break the fast with us. So she said, I've never fasted in my life. I said, you don't have to fast. Of course, fasting is obligatory upon all of whom Allah's Messenger ﷺ was sent to. So fasting is obligatory upon the whole of mankind. But I can't force you to fast. It's up to you. What you want to do is up to you. She said, no, I'm going to fast. She said, I've never fasted in my life. So she fasted that day. She fasted the whole of the day, and then she came in the evening to my house. I found Abu Talha rahimahullah in those days. I said, Dawood, come. Come over, bring your wife, bring your family. Month of Ramadan, a few years ago. I said, come over and we'll have dinner. Inshallah, you and I will sit with the boys and your sons and my sons will sit down together and send her amongst the women. Let them talk to her. So she came and she sat with the women, Abu Talha's wife, Talha rahimahullah, and my wife and my daughters. She sat with them and she spent the whole of the evening with them. Right? Why? Is there harshness to be shown to these people, ya ikhwan, or gentleness? Gentleness, rifq, lean, easiness. Why? Because these are people, there was a time when many of us were in that situation. We didn't know anything. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided us. And that's why one of the Salaf, Ayyub as-Sakhtiyani in a narration, Ibn Shawdhab in another narration, he mentioned that from the blessings upon a youth, from the good fortune or the good, that which Allah has written for him of goodness from a youth, is that Allah guides him to a man of Sunnah. So if you are that person of Sunnah that they bump into whilst you're shopping in Asda, right? Sometimes, I remember on occasion, I had a lecture in Slough. So I dropped my family off with her family and my children, and then I drove to Slough. On the way to Slough, I came to a roundabout of a link road, like going onto the motorway. So it was an A road, roundabout, then motorway. And there was a family that their car, a people carrier, broke down on the roundabout itself. I was on my own, so I parked up my car, I got out of the car. It was an old lady, her daughter, and their children. And I said, sister, to the older lady, I said, auntie, what's wrong? She said, the car's broken down. We don't know how to start it. We don't know anything. I was already late for the lecture slightly. And I said, well, I'm not a mechanic or anything. So what we'll do is, I said, get into the car and I'll push the car so you can at least come off and you can park there. And then we can sort out phoning AA or whoever you want to phone, your relatives. So I got out and I started pushing. Another car stopped behind me, another Muslim. He got out and he started pushing. All right, we pushed to one side. Oh Allah, as I was standing there, the auntie started making dua. As I was telling you, may Allah reward you, may Allah have mercy upon you, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you Jannah, may Allah making dua. Is this not da'wah, ya ikhwan? Right? She wasn't covered, she was an old lady, but she wasn't covered, just had the, the Asian dupatta, as you call it, or the whatever. That's all she had done. But she recognized that these people, look, they help. And there is goodness in them. So we are not harsh to the army. We are not harsh upon the general folk. Our harshness is reserved to who? Like Ibn Taymiyyah said, the call is to bid'ah. Those who are stubborn upon their innovation, don't want to let it go. You tell them, Ya akhi, fear Allah. Prophet ﷺ did this, you're doing that. The aqeedah of the Salaf is this, and you follow another aqeedah. And then he starts arguing, fighting with you. Months go by, still fighting, calls to his innovation. This one, we don't marry our daughters to. Nor do our sons marry into their families if their daughters are like this also. Like the case with Imran bin Hittan. Married a Khadeejah. He's a narrator in Sahih al-Bukhari. From the narrators, Bukhari narrates from him. Right? And they say, some of the scholars, they say that he narrates from him because this was before his bid'ah. So he married, they used to say that he is a man of Sunnah, from Ahlul Sunnah. He met a family of Khawarij. So what did he say to himself? I'm going to convert her. Marry her, bring her to the Sunnah. What did he do? Married her, fell in love with her, and she took him to bid'ah. And then he wrote poems praising the killing of Ali radiallahu anhu by Abdurrahman ibn Miljam. The same Imran. Narrator in Bukhari, ya ikhwan. Look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how when we say that our hearts are strong, they can't misguide me. They can't misguide me. My heart is strong. I'll deal with them. I'll debate with them. I'll argue with them. With who? The callers to bid'ah. I will listen to their lectures on YouTube and I will pick out their faults. No, ya ikhwan. That is not for you. I fear for myself. I fear for myself. Just as the Salaf used to say, look at Muhammad bin Sirin. When they came to Muhammad ibn Sirin, what did they say to him? Those people, those Qadariyah. They said, let us debate with you. He said, I do not wish to debate with you. Let us recite the Quran to you. He said, either you will get up and go, or I will get up and go. Why? Because he feared in his heart that they may say something and they may misguide him, as Ibn Battah mentioned, rahimahullah. So do not be of those people just want to listen to everything, watch everything, see everything. No, don't be a busybody. If you know the haqq, hold on to it and don't look to the right, don't look to the left. What these books tell you, Shaykh al-Fawzan, Shaykh Rabi's books, Shaykh Ubaid's books, Muhammad ibn Hadi, bin Baz, Al-Albani, Muqbil bin Hadi, that is enough for you. That's the asl of the affair. The asl is what? To withhold. The asl isn't to dive. And then when someone tells you, why have you gone into this affair? Then they say, well, what's the problem? The problem is that you're not supposed to enter into an affair in the first place up until you've investigated. Look what he said. Barbahari. Hard, ya ikhwan. I know, wallahi, because the number of times I asked the brother, I know how hard it is upon the people. They find it hard because in the society that we have, this liberalism, freedom, listen to everyone's opinions. It is because the Muslims have opened their hearts and ears to these ideas that now, wallahi, 20 years ago, I never used to hear any Muslim ever saying that he has doubt that Allah created Adam with his own two hands, even the most ignorant Muslim. In fact, the Muslims are so firm upon this affair that they used to laugh when the kuffar used to talk about the human being coming from a monkey. Over the last year alone, brothers, after this dars, or after the Jummah khutbah, or when I go to London or to a conference in America, here brothers will come to me and say, I have a family member, he's got doubts. I said, what's about? He doubts about the creation. I said, why does he doubt about the creation? He said, because he's confused about this evolution. Why? Because they open their ears, ya ikhwan. You open your ears to theories that in reality, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he is from the minority, from the rare great scholars of this ummah, that he would dive into an affair because of his immense, tremendous knowledge. He would dive into an affair, delve into it deeply to refute the people of bid'ah. So much so that he would know about the affair more than the people of bid'ah. Shaykh al-Islam has a statement in which he said that when a person dives into kalam, rhetoric and speech and theology and philosophy of the people of bid'ah, no one exits it except for a genius, one whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed. So he goes into it and it sounds academic. It looks intelligent. But when he goes into it, he realizes how foolish and silly and nonsensical it is. That's why Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari rahimahullah, that's why he left the ideas of the Mu'tazila. That's why Shaykh al-Islam, when he went into it to refute them, and it's only the likes of Shaykh al-Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah, and those similar to him, that entered into these affairs of bid'ah to refute them. That when they delved into them and they exposed every detail of innovation, they realized its foolishness. And that's why the Ami, when he looks at evolution, it makes sense to him. Why? Because he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about physiology, about the human body, about how it is created. He thinks that it's just a cell. And the cell is just like a brick, like the brick that I'm touching behind me. So all of these are just built together, and eventually the human being is formed of these. One cell in the human body is as complex as the dunya itself. That's just one cell. How that cell in itself is like a universe in itself. How it feeds, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sustains it, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes the harm away from it, because the cell excretes harmful matter. The cell itself, it eats, it consumes nourishment by the permission of Allah. The cell itself, the way that it maneuvers, the complexity of the cell is like a universe in itself. So it's not just like a brick that is put together. So don't be deceived, ya ikhwan, by the people of misguidance and by the people. The idea is that you do not enter it into the first place. Become strong upon your religion. If Allah makes you like Ibn Taymiyyah, then come, and then you can delve into their affairs. But up until then, and you are not of the level of Ibn Taymiyyah, or Bin Baz, or Al-Albani, or the likes of Ibn Uthaymeen, up until then, ya ikhwan, let us know our level. Keep away from these ideas. Barakallahu feekum, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.